Andrew and Chris from Brightstone Property. Welcome to the Scottish Property Podcast.
Thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks so much for joining us. It's really good to see you guys.
Great to see you guys. Listen, I thank you because you guys are really good supporters of the podcast. You've come to a lot of our events. You've actually spoken at the Glasgow networking event. So really appreciate it, guys. One of the reasons why we asked you on today is because you've got a phenomenal story to tell in your property journey so far. And the amount that you've actually done in such a short space of time is really like hats off to you. So let's just start, right from the beginning. And how did you guys meet in the first instance?
Yeah, so I think we've been friends for quite some time, probably 10 plus years. During lockdown in 2020, I was doing one of these online property courses with a famous guru, and it was kind of free for a week, jump on social media. I spoke to Andrew, do you want to go and do this? It was every evening, got nothing better to do. So we jumped on and started just learning a little bit about what he was talking about, the strategies. Obviously got to the end with the upsell and we kind of switched that off and we got to talking.
Yeah, and I think I've always been quite entrepreneurial and, had started a cafe a few years before and then had built up a wee bit of a pot of savings. Chris had also had some money as well that he was quite keen to put into property. And I sort of had the opinion of, well, why don't we do something together? I think I could see probably quite early on that we had different strengths, different things that we were good at. And that's probably proven to be the case.
So obviously you've got your business, the cafe business. Yeah. And then Chris, what is it you do for a living?
Yes, I still work full time. So I'm an auditor for a kind of retail auditor for a telecommunications company. So I cover Scotland, Northern Ireland, doing retail audits.
And I think that's what it makes it even more impressive because you're able to do all that. Chris, I know you've got kids as well. So you're able to do all that and still do all these projects that I've seen you do over the last couple of years, which we're obviously going to talk the listeners through. So, I mean, it's a phenomenal achievement. So do you guys want to tell us, Andrew, I don't know if you want to tell us, how does the actual partnership work in terms of who does what and stuff?
Yeah. So I think we've kind of just ended up where we are. It sort of naturally fell, I think, into, I'm more around the sort of finance, cash flow projecting for the business and also finding the deals, sort of getting projects into the pipeline. And Chris kind of is, definitely has the skill set around once we actually got the project, running with it and doing the refurbs and things.
You deal with the trades then?
I unfortunately deal with the trades.
You got a short straw there,
I think as Andrew said, we definitely fell into it. We didn't start with saying, right, this is what you'll do, this is what I'll do, which everyone tells you that's what you should do. You should start with the agreement and who's going to do what. I think we help out when's needed and we both get involved with what needs to be done, but that's naturally where Andrew talked about our complementary skill sets. That's where it fell in terms of Andrew's much better at finding deals, talking to agents, getting some traction there. I'm much better with dealing with the trades, dealing with the projects, getting the material.
Did you guys have a strategy when you first started out? Was there a bit of a plan? Was it a portfolio? Was it cash flow? Was it capital you wanted to raise? What was it?
I think a bit of everything that you kind of said, and it's moved as times went on as well. Yeah. So our first thing we done was a flip. I think two reasons. One, let's make sure we can work together. Let's make sure we can make it work. And two, it was always part of the long-term strategy, I suppose, to do a flip to generate profit. To then put in to hold some buy-to-lets. Yeah. So that's what we were going to do a flip, get a couple of buy-to-lets, and that's what we've done.
That's quite a clever strategy as well, because more people that start off with a buy-to-let portfolio probably underestimate that you're fucking committed to a marriage pretty much with each other.
That's it. We're more committed to one another than our partners, financially. But yeah, I think we kind of, we started out with a flip, and as I say, it wasn't going to be too long-term a commitment, but we went on such a journey together. We sat down with a local estate agent. First viewing we did actually, and a shout out for Tony at Home Connections. He actually helped us sort of get our offer over the line on that one. And we were really grateful. We did a dormer extension, a dormer addition upstairs.
So you didn't do a small flip for the first one then? It was quite like...
It was, I think
definitely a big one.
we were probably a bit naive, but we were very helpful in terms of we had Chris's dad, who is a builder to trade, who was able to sort of give us a hand on that.
Give us that one again.
So that was in Blantyre,
Right.
yeah, and I think, back to your point about being a big flip, I think I've been around my builder dad for so many years that it didn't seem daunting to me. It was like, we need to do a dormer, that's fine, I've seen them getting done, you just fire it up, that's no problem. So, yeah, exactly. I think looking back, you go, most people maybe starting to do a bit of lick of paint and then put it back in the market, but I think for us anyway, and the other ones we've done, we've always added significant value. We've done some structural change to push the value up, and that's definitely a strategy we've had. And I mean, my dad's been so great in that first project. He kind of done all the build and got some trades in, which was great, and I learned a lot off him, which was fantastic. And then as we've gone through other projects, we've maybe started to use him less and less, just because, I mean, he's 68, he wants to retire, he wants to spend time with the grandkids, and it'll help where needs be, and then we've kind of used other trades. And
plus, the other thing is as well, it's always difficult, I find, when using friends and family, because you don't want to be super critical, and you don't want to pull them up for stuff because it creates a bad atmosphere then. Whereas if you get, it's the same with me in the letting agency business. So at first my wife was like, look, we've got a friend here who's looking for work. I was like, I don't know about that. If it doesn't work out, it just creates a lot of awkwardness and all that. So we didn't go down that route in the end. I just find it much more easier to deal with, if you totally bring in outsiders. I don't know if you found that as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides to that coin. I think there's one thing is my dad will always look out for us and make sure, so I'm confident that he'll do the best job and do what's right. If something needs done, he's going to do it right. Whereas there's some other trades we've had issues with where it's not been done quite right, and you need to chase them, and you have to have that difficult conversation. So I suppose the idea is there's less difficult conversations to have, but absolutely the flip time when time scales start to run away, and it's particularly,
you can't get hold of them on the phone and they've not turned up on the Monday morning.
I know.
Like that.
Or you're trying to be like, I need this done, and he's going, but I'm looking after your boys today, so I can't. And I'm like,
your kids
right, fair enough. You need to do the babysitting as well. So it's just balancing that family life. I think we've got it right. I like to think he's got some decent jobs, we've got some decent knowledge and decent stuff done.
What sort of disagreements do you have as a partnership, as a business partnership? Like, what do you disagree on?
Well,
do we have time?
Like I said, obviously we knew kind of what our strengths were probably quite early on, but we've got quite similar weaknesses in the sense that we're not great at holding one another to account sometimes. So I think we can both be a bit indulgent of one another. I think, we'll let one another sort of not do everything we've committed to doing, rather than hauling one another back and saying, no, you said you'd do that. It's a bit like having a parent, really, isn't it? It's like you can be cheekier to your parent and your business partner than you would to, anyone else. You feel you can get away with it. But I think overall, my personal opinion is, we stood outside that first flip, and I was like, we wouldn't have been standing here without one another, because I wouldn't necessarily have done all the bits needed to get there, and he wouldn't have done all the bits either. So definitely stronger together.
What would you say that, Chris? Because obviously, there's decisions that need to be made, especially with flips. So you're like, right, should we re-render the front of the building and stuff like that? And one might think differently to the other. So how do you kind of manage those decisions? Is that all about having you do that part of it, and you just having those?
I think there's definitely, on reflection, Andrew's probably got more of the creative flair and the finishing touches, so there probably has been times where it's, we need to spend a little bit more, and I'm looking at the budget going, we don't need to, or we don't want to, but it just comes to a conversation, and I think it's about, right, what's the confidence in the end product, what is it we're going to deliver, have a talk about it and talk it through. There's never been a time we're putting my foot down, absolutely not, that this is what we're doing on either way. I think we've always just talked things through.
You've been going now, 2 years?
So 2.5, coming up 3 years in
You sound
October.
a bit sceptical, Nick, there, as if the challenges await us.
I think looking at the deals and the projects that they've done, I mean, surely if there's going to be problems that came up, they would have come up by now. So
I mean, not problems, but debates and challenges, absolutely. And I think that's just part of business. But we're always friends at the end of it, and we are focused on it as a business, and the fact that hopefully these decisions will lead to more money when we sell a flip, or a better end value when we do a buy to let, things like that. So
talk us through the numbers on the first flip then. Did they do well?
Yeah, so we're pleasant with the price. So we purchased it for around about the 60 mark, wasn't it?
So it was a 1-bed bungalow,
yeah,
which had, obviously room to go up into the attic.
Yep. I think the refurb on that was quite expensive, actually. So we were 40 or just over 40 on the refurb on it. because of having to do the structural work to support the dormer upstairs. Then I think fees were financing fees were maybe about 15 to 20. Sale price 152. So I think that was 7k over home, 145 home, 7k over home, just when the market was starting to really key up and stuff. So it was
how did you have the?
I'm always 32k profit on that.
Right,
32k. Yeah.
I'm always interested how, as a first deal, you analysed it and you saw the potential and you had the confidence that you were going to make this one a success. Had you seen another property nearby? Was a good comparable?
Well, it was such a challenging time in the market because everything was going up so rapidly, wasn't it? And it felt like the escalator was going up and we had to just jump on and hope that, we would be okay. I think...
Would that 2021?
So that was 2020.
2020,
so it was like just coming out of
lockdown.
It was just coming out of the first lockdown, really.
So that was...
market was a lot of heat in it.
And I think...
I think it was going to pop like most people did as well.
Well...
But to sell it quick, was it a...
I mean... Well, again, shout out to you guys. We were listening to both of you at the time. You were the. Well, I do remember you saying something. I think you're like, I might try and get one extra flip before I, and then not do anything. But you don't know, and I think maybe naivety helped us out in that sense. We thought, well, say worst case scenario, we break even. We had built in some fat. We thought we would have a 20k profit, and that was selling it at. About 120 and we ended up spending that but then the market obviously and the finish we'd done we kind of got
I hope you didn't listen to me. I've still not bought anything since lockdown.
We didn't know that at the time, we were taking your word as gospel, Nick, but so obviously got the first one under our belt, and then it's just kind of been straight into the next. So we actually concluded on the sale of the first one and bought the second one on the same day. In terms of our next flip.
That's a great use of money. Like, there's no point in sitting with the money in the bank.
Exactly. You never feel rich, though. That's the thing. No. It's like
so never see it. Profit disappeared. It was like, where did that go? It's just been reinvested because the next one was a bigger purchase price again. So that was 1, 2.
Well, wait a minute, guys. How about financing? Because people are like, how these guys buying these? Like, have they got a pot of cash? Like, can you talk to us about that? Because people want to know how to get started, and do they need money to get started?
Yeah, so the very first time before lockdown actually started, I'd remortgaged and I pulled out 40k out of my mortgage to invest in property.
Brilliant.
And then I think Andrew had some profits built up in the business, and that's when we decided to put that together.
Which is a great way. Look what you've done with that 40 grand. Looking back on it, do you know what I mean? Absolutely. I mean, obviously we're not giving any financial advice here, right? We're not saying go remortgage your house.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to look at it, especially now with the mortgage rates.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So if you can, there's good debt, bad debt, and if you can put that debt to good use and it can bring in.
I think that's what we looked at, and I'm very fortunate that I've got such a supportive wife that was kind of happy to get on board and allow us to do that. And
that's good.
I did tell her.
She's not going to get
she signed the paperwork. She knew what she was signing. She went, and she still is. Like, to this day, they know there's some sacrifices we're making and some stuff, but she's super supportive because she knows what the vision is and what the future, and we're involved and talk all the time. So not financial advice, but it's certainly what we've done to
worked for you
to work on. We've raised some private investor finance. So around about towards the end of the first kind of Blantyre flip, just before we were getting the next one, we started working with Darren Green. So Darren and Jill Green, I know you had Jill on the podcast recently.
Shout out to the Greens.
And certainly the mentorship there was great because it certainly helped my mindset in terms of raising private investor finance and what do we do. Like, it's a win-win for people. You're giving people an investment, or you're giving people an opportunity to make money from their money.
Is it a difficult thing for you to change that mindset to why would someone give me the money when you first start raising private finance?
Absolutely, I think so. I think it was the mindset of, well, we're wanting this money, I want money, rather than the mindset of, well, I've got a project, I'm going to go. Another thing we use for funding is bridging lender, so we still use a bridging lender today. I'm either going to pay them, well, now 12 or 14% to a bridging lender now, or we can put a private investor, maybe 8-10% more than what they're getting in the bank. So it's really seeing it as that win-win opportunity.
And I think just talking about that word mindset as well, is obviously I'd had my business for a few years, but one of the things I was a bit late to the party with was the idea of obviously education. And I think I was a bit sceptical initially about whether we needed it. And Chris sort of obviously he touched base with Darren and had an introductory call with him, and it wasn't until we were actually on it that I was totally signed up to it. And I think, I definitely, sort of sitting 3 years on now, I think anyone who's looking to start out in property probably does need to do some education, I think, because in terms of for us, the network, the relationships, they've been invaluable. And obviously we're going to talk about some more coaching we've done, spending more money on it. We've had those investments back, in spades, really, in terms of the return we've had.
Any questions on that?
You see, but that's it. But I think, I listen to the podcast obviously every week, and I hear you talking about it, Nick, and I think
tell me to do
it definitely is. It definitely
we can put you in contact with someone.
Jerry Alexander's already. Jerry's been on the email this morning saying, "I hear you're ready to do a course." I was like, "Only if it ends in a 9-7." 9-7
But I think, just a sort of, anyone who's on the fence, I think, we've not done the massive courses that some people have done. That, that is a level of risk that maybe we weren't ready for, but we have spent, multiple thousands of pounds on courses. Yeah. But I'm sitting here today saying I think it's definitely been worth it.
My point, listening to you guys, and obviously my views, but and the value you have just told us about there, where you got the value was the network, the ongoing support, following somebody and educating yourself with somebody that's actually doing it, walking the walk.
Yeah. I think as well the biggest thing is the accountability, certainly for me and from my point of view, and in a lot of walks of life, it's getting that accountability. And when we started at the end of the flip, we'd just purchased the second flip, obviously, but we were getting into the strategy of the BRR and buying the flats to do up rentals, and kind of remortgage them, and the money we were leaving in was going to be the profit money. And we kind of set a target to, we want to, our first year I think we wanted to get £1,000 cash flow, so we kind of had a rough number of properties we wanted to get to get that, and we've probably done what we were wanting to within the first 6 months, because we had that accountability. We were turning up every week. We wanted to be the ones that had got another deal, had got something else.
Look at these guys.
We wanted to make sure we were taking action, because that's the key thing. It's mindset and then taking action. There's no point in getting the education and knowing what you need to do if you're always going to be like, well, it's not perfect on the Excel sheet, or I don't know if that's going to quite work.
You mentioned that recently in a post. He was saying about the amount of people that had contacted him about the workshop, but they'd contacted him like the year before as well. They're still thinking about it.
Some of the messages that have reached out, you're looking back at that chain, you're going, you contacted me 18 months ago, 2 years ago, you're still in the exact same position. If you'd spent a couple of grand, you would have been fucking sitting where you guys are going, I've added £1,000 to the portfolio or a month cash flow, and we've done a few flips over it, but the accountability of someone, not even someone telling you, but be accountable to yourself. If you spend that money, I feel like when you spend the money, you're then accountable to yourself to say, fuck, I need to make this back, because if not, it's a waste of money. Don't take action.
100%.
And like you say, it's not about like how to do this strategy, because anybody can go on, and you can go on multiple YouTube, videos, you can go on podcasts, you can learn the whole theory of every different strategy under the sun. But I have changed my view on it, and I do agree that it's definitely the accountability. So, when's your next workshop, Dave?
I think at the end of the day, you do get out of it what you put in as well. So it's like, we were very motivated, so that's why, we probably got some of the results, but it was great to have the support.
You finished with your education, profit education now? You feel like you're probably like gurus yourself now that you've done.
No, I don't think we'll ever be finished. I think we'll always be looking for the next.
What's that? We look at reinvesting in yourself.
I think. Sorry, this is very cliche, but I think there is there's different coaches for different phases in your life as well, and I think we'll always be at a next phase, hopefully continuing to progress, continuing to do bigger deals, and then there'll always be someone who's ahead of us, hopefully, and we'll always be looking to tap them for their experience, and that'll probably come at an increasing cost.
I'm going to start up a how to become a letting agent course. Are you interested in that one?
That's it. You'll be financially free in a heartbeat, Nick.
I think you should start a course, but we're definitely not going to be letting agents ourselves. So wrong target audience here.
I'd agree. Sorry, mate, you're not getting this one sign up here. No, do you know what? It's an interesting point about reinvesting yourself, and it's something I still want to do. Like, I went down to London for a convention last month, and it was brilliant. It was more on marketing and sales stuff like that as well. And it was just nice to learn something different and learn new skill sets. But I think if you're not learning, not growing, then what are you doing? You're going back the way, not keeping up with the times, not evolving.
you need to put yourself in different rooms, and I think it's with different people. You'll have met people there that are doing different strategies or some slightly different in the wider UK that you've maybe not came across. And certainly for us, it's looking at people that we know and respect and what they're doing and tapping into their knowledge. So Jerry Alexander's someone we followed quite some time with the commercial stuff. So when he was doing his mastermind, we thought, right, let's get on board with this. We didn't think it was quite the right time. We thought, that's a bit early. But actually, we've got the knowledge, and now we're waiting to hear back. We've maybe got an offer accepted on a commercial premises that will be a kind of CMO, which will be great. Also, we look at the likes of Linda Martin, so she's doing her stuff on flips. If we were probably wanting to focus more on commercial, but if we were looking to do it flips, we would definitely look to Linda Martin for the stuff that she does in flips. Is amazing.
Funny, it's been at that table. Like I mentioned this before, I think on the podcast, but myself and Jerry were a part of a mastermind group. Like it wasn't paid; it was just a bunch of us sitting at a table like this. And funny enough, it was at Jerry's place, obviously, where he can make the revenue from the pizzas. Shout out to Jerry. But we'd sit in a room like this, and you'd just be given a bit of accountability and a chat, and what you guys are up to, and see every month. Like I swear that was the biggest driver for me. I don't know if it's a competitive spirit in yourself, but you can't sit across from Jerry Alexander hearing about him hitting his £1 million turnover in his commercial property without going, what the fuck have I done this month? What excuse am I going to come up with? And it just sits, having that conversation with people that are doing something, more than you're ahead of your, just taking that excuse right away from you, go, he's doing it, I'm doing it.
That's it. And different people are motivated by different things. We're both quite like that. We are very competitive, and some people aren't. They just want a passive income, and that's fine. But I think that kind of thing definitely works for us as the competitive nature. So obviously Chris was saying there, we've kind of gone on to the commercial course. We probably had a plan to build a good size buy-to-let portfolio. That was certainly how we got into property. We wanted to have that passive income, but we have definitely pivoted.
Why is that?
That was going to be one of the questions I had for you as well, was why the pivot so soon?
Yeah, so basically,
I know the answer.
So the reason we pivoted, the reason we pivoted is because the game has changed in terms of the Scottish Government's approach has been much more interventionist. The interest rates going up has made such a difference, and also probably just having our eyes opened to how long it's going to take us in terms of buy-to-lets to get to where we want is going to be a really long period of time, whereas 1, 2, 3 commercial purchases could
change it.
Could change your life.
Because I'm assuming that £1,000 target cash flow has changed dramatically on how many properties you need to actually buy now.
Yeah, well, I think that's a good point. I said we'd maybe achieved that in the first 6 months. By the time refinances have came through, we've actually not achieved that in the buy-to-lets we got, because where we were looking at 200 to 300 quid, we've the last 2 we refinanced, it was sub £200. I think it was maybe just a touch over 150 because of the interest rate changes on it. So it was absolutely that eye-opener to how many properties that we're going to have to get
very long-term strategy it's become now.
Which it always has been, and I think it always should be. I think it's still a great place to store wealth, to have that passive income. It's what do you say, safe as houses. It's
growth.
Did you feel reserved about pivoting? I'm quite interested in it, because everyone says you want to stay on the lane until you're successful. So early on, and I think it's a completely the right thing to do as well, to that pivot. But did you feel a bit reserved to go, no, we shouldn't pivot, we're taking the easy way out, this is hard and we're now finding it hard, so we're pivoting? Is it?
I suppose we were a few I don't know, we were just behind Dan and Jill, basically, I suppose. And we could see them pivoting as they went. They built their buy-to-let, and even they were having a similar argument that, they were having to pivot into different strategies. And that, when we're reflecting on, we were really struggling to get deals, was the reality, unless we were going to buy a big portfolio. We were struggling to get resi deals, so we started to look.
Told you there's no deals out there.
That's the problem. There was no deals in the market.
Agreed.
I'm sure there were, but they weren't coming across our desk.
You've got to encourage it, right?
So, different strokes, I suppose, but for different folks. But yeah,
glad you had that on there.
Yes. So we looked and we said, right, okay, well, we could probably do commercial, was where we were thinking. And so Jerry came along at the right time. Shout out to Jerry.
By the way, wait a minute, I've got to stop this podcast, right? Plugs. Jerry, Linda and Darren Green, get your checks in the post, because we have plugged you about 10 times. That's right.
No, so that's it. But then I suppose it also, takes back to my original comment about the network. You know, and it is, and it's like we wouldn't be where we are.
It's such a good community. I mean, I think like we've,
support.
without bigging this up too much as well in the podcast, we've been a lot of that, building that community as well.
100%. I think you're definitely set. You see the events that you guys put on now as well. You're definitely that kind of centre of the Scottish property. Community are certainly the centre of what
you said you've not been doing nothing for the last 3 years, but you actually have been building a community.
Nice to show for it, apart from a few new friends.
Sorry, maybe we all need friends.
A couple of new pals.
Yeah, and we on the network point, I think that's where it makes the pivot more comfortable, because we see what people are doing in the network. We see what the likes of you are doing. We see what Darren and Jill are doing with their commercial in Bank Street. We see what Jerry's doing in the community in there, and that's what makes it easier for us to pivot, because we see what other people are doing. You pick up, it's all the knowledge that you get from the mentor and the training. It's the network that are around you, and you see what deals they're doing. And this commercial that we picked up in Irvine, I think that was a mixture of, well, we'd had Darren and Jill around the corner, so we have confidence in that market. We're able to kind of bounce off them of what the market looked like. We had confidence in Jerry, and someone in his network had just recently got a kind of shop on top, and that's something that had never really crossed our minds. We'd probably disregarded that if we'd seen it in the auction catalogue just a few months previous, but because of the network, because of what people are saying, you're going, okay, let's run the numbers on this. Let's actually have a look at this. It might not look exciting to begin with, and then when you run the numbers, you go, okay, the numbers look exciting. So that looks different.
This deal in Irvine's a shop on top, isn't it?
Wait a minute, I just want to mention something else. Do you not think this is the great thing about like the property community, especially like the thing that we've got going as well? Because in any other business, right, if you kind of copied somebody what they were doing, they wouldn't speak to you. Do you know what I mean? But like everybody wants to see everybody do well. So you think you're talking about investing in the CMOs and all that, you would think that Dan Gillian would be like, stay away from them. We're not going to share a competition, but this is a brilliant thing. Everyone wants to help everyone else.
Collaboration, not competition.
And there's enough to go around as well. It's like there is definitely, one, we're in maybe slightly different markets. Two, that there is a shortage of the kind of smaller CMO, like smaller office space, and the kind of UK, certainly the markets we're looking at.
Sorry, mate, you were asking the question about the latest.
Let's jump away from the residential, because you've done a bit. It's a hybrid, isn't it? This shop on top, because you've still got the 2 flats above the commercial. So
absolutely.
It's not like
that definitely feels much safer. You're absolutely right. It's the first commercial purchase. It's got the shop in the bottom, which we're kind of totally at a loss with in terms of we're still building up our knowledge on what to do with it, and I think we know what we're doing. It seems pretty simple. We've got
what the 2 flats are worth.
We know what the 2 flats are worth. We want to do them as serviced accommodation as well, which is a slightly different strategy as well.
So will this be the first twist into a service accommodation as well then? Yeah. And the new licensing, because you've got the whole building, I'm assuming it's not going to be an issue?
Yep, exactly that. You know, we own the close effectively, so you know, and they'll both be service accommodations. So I think it is just, I suppose it's that attitude of we're not afraid to try. You know, so with everything. So actually, it might be that we come up against a massive barrier. We have done some due diligence in terms of speaking to local council. You know, they seem to think it'll be fine. So hopefully we will be. But equally, we know they'll work. The numbers still work if we just rented them out on.
I was away to say that.
On rentals,
based on the bricks and mortar value in the long term.
And the numbers work if we have to sell them. If we have to sell them,
we're on three different titles. So we could sell the 2 flats and then have a free cash flowing shop. So, but that probably feels like quite an up-to-date challenge, I suppose, that we've had. Is, you know, property is so up and down. I've never been in an industry that is so rewarding, but also frustrating as well. And I think it's you know, so for example, curveballs, you know, so for example with the, you know, the building in Irvine, you know, nice C-listed building. We did get it for a good price. You know, we're confident of that, but we thought it was tenanted because there was someone there, and as soon as we got the keys, effectively they were gone. So, you know, that income that we thought we were going to have, we've not got.
Is there any lessons from that you could have done then differently? Just, can anyone pick up anything from that? What could you have done?
I think you need to just work with some buffer really around, because it's not like we hadn't spoken directly to the person. So you can't account for that. You can't account for them not being completely upfront.
And that would have affected the value, because the valuation of the commercial is based on the income it's producing. If it produces no income, it's effectively worthless.
I think.
Did that affect the lending going into it, or was it already purchased by then?
She was still leased when we went lending. To be fair, I think they lent us on vacant possession anyway.
All right,
and I think we did get it for a good price. So we paid
125.
125
for the whole
What size of building is it?
So it's 2 2-bed flats and a shop.
Like it's weird, isn't it? Because like in commercial property, it's all square foot and all that. So you've got just to give people so they can visualise it. Or what's it look like from the outside? Then is it a?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's a
double front retail shop, so you're probably 4 metres across, and then you've got 3 stories up.
Right.
So
close to the right hand, like
close
the side
to
of
the right hand side.
Exactly.
If you go on our Instagram, you'll see it.
Exactly. Head to
Brightstone Property.
Yes. But yeah, I think it's certainly a good deal that we got. So the 2 flats, once we do them up, they're probably worth 75 each. And then we've got the shop that we'll be able to lease quite quickly again as well. So I think the lesson is you just need to be prepared for these challenges, really. There's nothing you could have done to secure that tenant. She still had a 5-year lease. We've taken quite a pragmatic view on it that says we're not going to get any money from her. There's no point in chasing her.
Let it go.
We've been able to get her to sign a tenant, a kind of lease surrender, so that keeps us safe. And then we've just
is there an option to add the value through a better tenant?
I think we'll probably get similar kind of tenants, similar price back in there, and we'll have to do what we were always going to do anyway. There's some dampness issues that we were going to fix, so we're going to have to spend the same money. We're missing out. Basically, her rental was paying the bridge for the time that we were getting it refurbed. So maybe we've lost, I don't know, $6,000. Let's say it takes us 6 months to get another tenant in there. We've lost.
Does that make it
$6,000
a bit more comfortable knowing that there's a tenant in place with a part income that was paying the bridge and loan to go, well, okay, the bridge is getting covered and washing its face? But
it definitely did. It probably, if anything, it maybe took the gas off a little bit, which maybe wasn't a good thing, because you're kind of saying, right, it's comfortable, it's cash flowing from day one, so it's like we'll take our time, we'll get these flats up and running, and we just need to make sure we do it a bit quicker.
How far into the process are you now then? How's it all going?
Yeah, going well. So we've got the rot all sorted upstairs. We're probably we've got the decorator lined up for beginning to middle of July for the kind of flats and the premises downstairs as well. So should be finished by the end of July. And
what kind of target audience are you looking for? Target market, should I say, for the SA units in short holiday rental contractors? Or?
Yeah, mainly short-term holiday let. I think the guy we're working with, David from, I always say the name, Currydoon, is going to, I think he's got some contracts like the local NHS and different contractors. So hopefully.
How do you base I'm always kind of curious of the guys that go into SA. How do you base your occupancy rate on numbers for?
So we spoke to a few different people, and I think we've based it on 65% occupancy.
65%.
That's pretty conservative.
Which we feel is conservative, and we feel it's relatively conservative nightly rate of it.
45 or 90 a flat, isn't
90 a flat, so it's 590, and then 65%.
And I presume you're doing them up
and it's
nice.
We are absolutely
high-end, like a lot of your. If you go on your Instagram, you can see the quality these guys produce.
And I think it's just everything's Instagram now, isn't it? It's got to look good. And I think obviously you with your finish on the the HMO was superb, and it just it's you're proud of your investment, so that'll be the same for us.
That's why we post more pictures of ourselves and our properties on Instagram. It's got to look good.
Got to look good. Is that why?
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm quite interested to hear how you guys ignore the doom and gloom, because I mean early on the journey, if you followed Nick on Instagram and all you see is Nick's social media stories on,
that's why we follow you.
That's why. Did I notice that I was unfollowed there? Oh fuck, that is Brightstone Property unfollowed.
How do you get rid of the noise? Get rid of the noise. Focus on what you guys are doing. Look at the numbers without. Because it can be hard to go down the rabbit hole looking at the media and the government fucking putting up this and the interest rates going up consistently.
You like all that stuff, don't you? You've said before.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm thinking of it as well. I have to, cannot.
Nick and I have spoken before about how he loves his, was it Fox News or whatever? Maybe you've Bloomberg. Yeah, and it's like I'm not quite as on it as you are, but I really find it interesting. But you know what? I think probably people in this room have said things like, you're in charge of your own destiny. Only you can make it happen. The government's not going to come and give you, a leg up. We can only do what we think is a good judgment. We're still relatively conservative. So, for example, on, this CMO that we're hoping to get, we feel we're being relatively conservative in terms of end value, in terms of how quickly we'll get it let out. So, it's just your judgment, really. And I think, not hoping everything will go right.
What's the worst that can happen? I always say that. What is the worst that can happen?
And then you believe it, don't you? That's the thing. You're like, all right, okay, so I won't do it.
Like, honestly,
Great.
honestly, like, I mean, you know, what is the worst that can happen? You can't pay back your investors. You go bankrupt. Like, do you know what I mean? Start again.
I don't even think.
No, I'm saying, you've got to put things as perspective. You're saying about how do you block out the noise? How do you become not paralysed with what's it?
Inaction.
Inaction. Do you know what I mean? So it's about that taking the risk. You do need to take the risks.
I think that is definitely the reality. How do you block out the noise? You probably don't block it out altogether. I mean, it's always going to be there, and there's always going to be a niggle of, well, what if? And as Andrew says, you kind of build as much. You kind of do as much due diligence and build as much buffer as you feel is necessary into the deal, and you make sure that it works for you. What's the worst that can happen? Well, we know we've got equity in our flats, we've got equity in it ourselves. Yeah, we've got private investors' money, but you can't say any risk is risk-free, but we've got enough skin in the game that we've kind of got confidence that we could weather a storm.
Interest rates go to 10%.
Yeah,
you just need to do it.
Yeah, and I think that's it. You don't know the unknown, and you can, as you say about inaction, you can't always fear. I mean, what if you didn't? What if you didn't invest in the lockdown? You maybe didn't, but that's if you didn't do stuff from the beginning, we wouldn't be sitting where we're sitting if we didn't go to the bigger flip. We've not even touched on camps when we went to the bigger flip. But
do you want to just scan through, because I feel like we did miss out quite a few of your projects. You just want to
Well, I think that kind of some of real life events hit us with one of our flips realistically, and I think it was we had Blantyre, that was the 32k profit. We then had Lark Hall, where again it was like a 2-bed bungalow. We added a dormer. Oh no, we didn't add a dormer. We converted it to make it a much more usable space upstairs, and we came out with 50k profit on that one.
Brilliant. And Lark Hall as well.
And Lark Hall as well. I know Lark Hall's a great place. We've got a couple of flats.
We've got a couple. There's Lark. Wait a minute, I always get mixed up.
Oh, backtracking.
There's another one that begins with the L down there.
Lanark. Then we've got a flat. We've got a flat. So don't.
Which one's the one where you walk down the street and it's red, white, and blue pavements?
That's Lark Hall.
It's Lark Hall.
We put a Union Jack in the garden, and that added 10k onto the sales price, I think.
No, that's not true.
Firebomb in it.
Well, yeah. So believe it or not, we actually got an American actor that bought that flat, that house. So of all things, Hollywood came to Lark Hall, but
and that's one that I think definitely came with a huge amount of challenge.
Let's talk about that.
We ended up holding that for a lot longer than we expected. We were doing a front dormer, so I had a dormer at the rear. It had Velux at the front, and we were putting in a front dormer. Went into planning, and it just got stuck in the planning process for 7 or 8 months.
Right.
All this time we were paying a bridge, and it was a real kind of learning point of you need to build in a buffer, and you need to have different options to kind of get you out of a hole sometimes. So we were confident where the market was going. We're still going to get a good sales price, but really needed to push this over the line in terms of planning. So it was daily calls to the planner from me to say what's happening to this, what decision are you coming up against. We had an objection from a neighbour where it was going to ruin the streetscape. I believe was his phrase, that it was too large.
Putting a Union Jack in the garden.
I think we did not.
Did you start work at all on it then while we were waiting the planner, or did you sit back?
So we done all the rip out. We done first fix electrical, first fix plumbing,
stuff that can be quite changed.
Some of the stuff downstairs, the stuff that we were kind of going to do, and then we couldn't break through. We couldn't do into the front dormer, and we couldn't do any of the structural work there. So that
held
just held it right back.
We were well behaved.
And I think the struggle was because it was a next door neighbour that essentially I think our dormer was bigger than his dormer, so he wasn't overly happy with how it was going to look. And after various phone calls, they agreed. We reduced it by I think 50 centimetres each side, so kind of metre overall, and we would get.
That's a long time.
That took 8 months. 8 months in planning.
And are you in bridging at this point?
We were on bridging at this point. Towards the end of the bridge, we only had a 12-month bridge on that one. Less than all of our future ones have been on 18-month bridges.
What's going through your mind at this point?
Going through our mind is
what's the differences in?
We're going to face a 5% charge from the bridging company
for going over the year,
or we go out and find money. And again, we change our mindset around, right, we now need this money. Let's try and find someone that we can give a better rate rather than paying 5% and I think 0.75 a month we were paying at that point. It's going to cost us a lot of money. Let's try and find a private investor, and we were able to, which was good. So I think a close family member said, I've got some money, and we were able to make a deal that went into there, cleared off the bridge and allowed us the extra. I think it was only ended up being 3 months over. From start to finish, I think it was 13 months actually. So it was only a month over the bridge bank. As it was getting towards the end, we exited the bridge
pressure off as well, doesn't
it? Did.
And on the finding the private investor finance as well, that's a lot of people think, I don't know anyone with money. Is that a case of just, again, putting yourself out there and just, you might be surprised at who might actually...
That's it. And I think just building that track record as well, that people can see, they go on our page, they can see the projects we've done, the profits we've made, the standard we've done our rentals to, the standard we've done. We're going to be doing obviously this commercial too, things like that, Do
you think having a bit of skin in the game, is that quite a big thing as well? Do you think if, as an investor, right, you want to see that, you guys put a bit in there yourselves?
I think everyone's different, isn't it? And I suppose if people didn't have skin in the game, maybe the investor would look for a little bit more return if they were the only money going in. Certainly for us, as Andrew said, we wanted to have a bit of a track record. So the first flip was all our own money and bridging. I think the first buy to let was our own money and bridging. So it wasn't until the kind of third project that we'd had private investor money that went on. And again, we still had a bridge at that time along with the private investor. So we'd kind of rinsed and repeated twice, so we could see that we're doing what we say we're going to do. And that maybe gives them confidence.
private investor funding, right? I don't know if you've come across this as well, but obviously used to see on social media, the line was, everybody would use the line, I'll get you better than what you get in the bank. Do you know what I mean? Beat the bank and all the rest of it. You're getting 0.1% or whatever it was. That's kind of changed now, right?
So in the bank, like
5%.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So is this going to change the landscape? So you can get
still beating the bank.
We're still beating the bank.
Right? No, that's fine. So this is what I'm going to say.
10% for 6-week return a year ago.
So, but I heard people are like, some people I know were like, oh, we're 6-7% or something. We're getting loads of people throwing money at us. So I don't know if that's going to.
Yeah,
I will do.
Everything pivots, doesn't it? Everything changes, and that's it. It's like, so yeah, you could maybe offer 6-7% when that was happening, but maybe now it is a few percent higher. But that is being in business.
I'm just putting it out there so that people know that, the old posts that you used to see on LinkedIn and all that, then you can actually get 5% fixed rate term savings over a year.
We have some private investors signed up to 3 years where it's at 5%, 6%. And when we're looking at a deleveraging strategy, we're like, why keep them unencumbered? Why fucking pay off a private investor at 5 or 6%? Because the mortgage rates have now hit that quite sharply in the last 7-8 months. So
yeah.
And that's we have actually increased what we'll pay some of our investors. We reworked that a couple of weeks ago because it's looking at we kind of compare it to what we're paying a bridging lender. So if we were paying a bridge, probably cost us overall about 10% for a bridge. It's now maybe 12, 13, 14%, depending when you're factoring all the fees and everything. So we are happy to pay a private investor maybe 8 or 9% rather
still beat the
6 or
banks.
7%.
Still beat the banks.
Still beat the banks, but you can't say that though.
You can't say that. We've never said that. We've never said that.
But yeah, so we came out of Lark Hall, eventually after 13 months with a bit of a spring in our step.
It was a great result.
I was going to say, quite intrigued that you still managed to get a 50k profit, even though you had an 8-month delay on planning.
So I think the market was going quite high at the time. I always look at Lark Hall as one that I think that went 20k over home. So we made 30k on that, and the market gave us an extra 20.
But that's again testament to your spend. People will usually try and skimp on the spend of a flip and claw it back, but you guys put decent.
I think as it was going on, even though we were spending more in fees and finance, I think we ended up spending it was over 20k in fees and finance and everything on that. As it was going on, we thought, you know what, we know we can push this to over a 200k house, so let's go for the herringbone floor and let's upgrade the kitchen. Let's go for the upgraded bathroom and
gold taps.
This is fair.
But this is what gets me, right? We see when you actually look at the prices shot like this, it doesn't cost. If you shop around for the right places, it doesn't cost any more. But it looks a million times better.
This is where the AI is going to take over, right? Because you're going to get Chat GTP, right? Have you used that before?
Yeah, I've used it.
It's amazing with it.
It is.
You're going to be able to put in here, give me the refurb spec to sell this house to an American actor. And it'll give you a full detailed refurb.
You give me ideas, mate.
I know, honestly, obviously that's a whole different podcast, but it is incredible what you can do. And no offence, Nick, but it's maybe your job that's more on the line with that one, I think, in terms of letting agent. Well, ChatGPT lettings. No, I'm kidding. But I think people will always have a role in all these things, But yeah, obviously, so we're really chuffed with coming out with 50, and then we rolled into a flip in Cambuslang, which was going to be, which was probably a bit of our, was the one that wasn't timed great because we got it over the summer of 22. It was just going to tick us over the summer. We made a few mistakes in terms of we were both going on holidays and things, and we just fired off the trades, just get started. We weren't tight enough on the control in terms of the spend, and at the end of it, we were probably, I can't remember exactly how much overspent we were, but it was a decent amount.
I think it was probably a good 6 or 7k overspend. I think for
so that's not actually too much.
Which it should have only been a 20k. It was probably equivalent to maybe a 30%, 40%.
We did know that this one was tight anyway, so we weren't really adding any value in terms of an extension. We were making a much bigger kitchen diner, but there was no walls coming down or anything, and so. But in terms of timing, obviously there was the Omni Shambles budget that you and I have spoken about, Nick, in sort of October, and we went on the market like 5-6 weeks later when you could hear a pin drop in the market. Nothing was really shifting. So actually, it took us 5-6 weeks to get that sold, which was probably nerve-wracking for us.
I think it was the first time we sold just under Home Report, wasn't it? A couple of grand under Home Report.
There's an example of how you listen to all the gurus. You listen to all the gurus that say it's time in the market, not timing the market. That's a point where time.
We still made a profit.
It's time in the market in a way as well. And for that,
we still made a profit. We didn't lose money, and but it was a knock, and I think, but that was more about bad timing, and obviously. But on the flip side of the bad timing, we managed to pick up Campsie at that point as well. So the 3-bed semi in Clarkston, over a period of 6 weeks, we managed to negotiate 30k off the Home Report.
Right.
And so, you win some, you lose some.
If you were feeling it on your side that selling, you could use it as an advantage to go and pick something up a lot cheaper.
And I think that's some Dan talks about, the kind of knowledge equity that we gained from Cambuslang was great, because it's like, it really certainly gave me a shake in terms of, you need to be more in control of the trades and the cost of some trades we now no longer use on the back of that. So it's like actually opens our eyes and just makes us stronger for the next project. And I think that's absolutely helped. Andrew done a great job negotiating Campsie and getting that for such a great price. Going into the refurb, it's probably one of the smoothest, easiest ones I think we've done, because
What was that? Is that a house as well?
3-bed semi-house, had a dining room, kitchen separate. We knocked the wall down to make a dining kitchen, spent a load of money on the garden to get that looking really good, and put in a window at the front as well. So it ended up still a 3-bed home. We didn't really add in any other space upstairs.
It was just dilapidated when we bought it. The back garden was, it had like 4 massive sheds in it, things like that.
Had a toilet in the conservatory.
Yes, I think that's how I got it. It was because there was a toilet in the conservatory, and I think anyone coming into that
overlooking the neighbour's garden.
You could probably have sit on the loo and looked at the person in their conservatory and waved at them.
Morning paper.
But
and open the window at the same time so they get the smell.
Always adding a touch of class now.
That's it. Can always rely on that. I think in terms of value add, I think we just really leveled up the finish. Did everything that needed done in that property.
But the refurb the refurb was so much smoother because of the lessons learned on the Canvas.
I think we made sure, so we had the trades lined up earlier, got a couple of quotes for stuff, made sure we were talking about end times and not finishing times. I think that's a big one of the things in Canvas Line. Like, when can you start? You can start 2 weeks time, 10 days time, that's fine. But then it's not about, I could start then, but I'm still going to take 3 weeks to do the
valuable
work. Come and do half a day's work, and then it'll be another week before I'm back. So it's like
really talking about that, managing the trades.
That's a great point. I've not heard a lot of people talking about. So that's really good. And any other tips for say finding good trades? Has it just been a process of just experience and just going through a few bad ones till you get some good ones?
We still are as well. We're still going through a few bad ones, I think, probably. So it's making sure you're getting probably a couple of quotes. If you've got a trusted trade, you'll know what the prices are, and if they're not taking the piss, then fair enough, go ahead with them. I think it's making sure you're there on site, not every day without a doubt, because you're busy, but make sure you're checking in at least once a week on what's been done. And
how do you manage that time aspect for the both of you guys that have got really busy lives as well? Obviously every Saturday you're off, gallivanting around the cafes of Instagram. Do you know what I mean? Which is probably
someone's got to do it.
So and then Chris is at the refurbs and all that, written down walls while you're eating your eggs Benedict.
It happened one weekend,
I'm choosing all the fits and finishes, and he's.
How did you manage that time? You got a young family.
Yeah, I mean, we plan it in the diary. I think, I've got a young family, super supportive wife that kind of jokes about being a single mum sometimes. So she is absolutely there with the boys, and it's just making sure the time that we do have with family is real, proper family time, quality time, and we also know what the sacrifices we're making, what they're for, and always that's kind of what drives you, isn't it, to make sure you're doing it for the future as well. I think in terms of timing, it's probably, we could always be better at it, but it's having a good diary system, making sure you know when you need to be where. It's good that there's two of us as well, so if there is someone that needs to go and meet a trade or an electrician or something, that's I'm away that weekend, can you pick this up or can you go up in the evening, and we just work together, I suppose. We've always got key boxes at all our projects, so again, if it's a trusted trade, it's go and let yourself in, go and price it up, and then let me know afterwards, because you might not have to meet them there all the time. And I hate it when trades go and pick up the keys and you go after them and they're too lazy to scramble the code. And you're like, mate, that's just like...
leaving my door front wide open.
You might as well just leave the door open.
Tell us the result on was it Campsie then?
The canny?
That's the one
that's in just now.
So leave it alone.
We've got the purchase price and cost and everything.
Yeah, so obviously the home report was 270, we got it for 240, and we've spent about
that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, we've spent about...
Yeah, done a good job. Done a great job with that. That was going back and forward maybe 3 or 4 times, and they came back and wanted a bit more. We held firm.
So in this deal, he's getting 70%, you're getting 30%.
No.
Well, then you take it to the project and it flips back the other way.
I think we did. I think one of the lessons definitely was we weren't as motivated to get this, actually, because the market was changing. We were worried that actually maybe we would be left high and dry when we were selling it at the other end. So we were able to stand really firm at where our numbers were, and the estate agent did try to push us higher, and we're just like, no, but we also sensed that there was no one else.
That's a really popular area as well.
It is. And so probably bought it for 240, spent about 50 on it, and then you've got your fees and finance. We're probably
for 300.
All in for a bit more, about 310, 315 or something.
What's the new home report value? We won't give away sale prices.
We won't tell you the home report, but we'll tell you we've broken because Clarkson is a unique area in terms of home report.
What agent are you selling with? I'll just phone them up now.
So we've broken, what we're really chuffed with is we've broken the ceiling price in the street.
That's awesome.
So I think in this current market, we're really chuffed with that.
Somebody's getting a good quality home as well.
Absolutely. It is the best we've done, without a doubt, in terms of the standard of finish. So it's excellent.
You guys go have to follow the Instagram page to find out the result.
Well, that's it. Give it
so just to finish off with, guys, you've given us loads on this podcast. Really appreciate it. But can you give us a wee insight into how the conversations progress from you guys now about your goals? Long term, is it, if you entered in this because you want to give up the 9 to the job, and are you going to become financially free over the next couple of years, or where's it going for you guys? And
financially free in 7 days, I think it was, but the 7 days has passed.
Yeah, so that's
I think. I think for us, so we do have a goal setting session every 90 days. So we do kind of quarterly, yearly goals, and we're probably kind of happy to share. We wanted this year. Our goal for this year is to make sure we're at 5k cash flow, so that's what we want to be for the end of this year. And with what we've got in the pipeline, we should be there or thereabouts, which is excellent.
Fantastic. And then basically 3 years. That's amazing. That just shows people what can be achieved. Yeah. Sorry on you.
No, and I think next year we probably don't really have an end in sight. I think we can triple that next year. Yeah, I think we probably can. We can continue to snowball and grow. It's definitely. It's not about giving up the 9 to 5 or giving up the other business. It's probably about, it'll naturally come a point where, I do want to be able to leave my job to be able to move into this full time, because there's what more we can do when we're full time. I've got a great job, and I love the team, and it's definitely a good work-life balance I've got. So there's not a desperation to, but there is absolutely a want, and probably there's going to be a need potentially sooner rather than later. That means, if we work in the business, what can we grow and scale that to?
Yeah. So, definitely.
Last word, Andrew.
Yeah, last word, I think, we're just at the beginning, really, I think is the thing. And there's plenty more to come, really. So.
Yep. And if you want to connect with us, we can connect on our Instagram at Brightstone Property. And we're also doing a little cash flow networking night on the 20th of June.
Absolutely.
In Uddingston. So, follow us on Instagram.
So, guys, this should go out on the 19th of June. So, book your tickets quickly and get along to that. That'd be great.
We'd love to see
If you want to invest, it's 10% return. Beauty.
We'll have a discussion about what works for us and what works for the investor. We can see you after this, Nick. Stephen hasn't been able to change it, but we'll see.
Great stuff, guys. Brilliant.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks a lot, guys.